for Coach. He's got 15 minutes. He's got another appointment, so holler out. Andrew Jones, go ahead, and then raise your hand if you need a question.
Hey, Steve, can you give me permission? It's not letting me. Sorry, I thought I had it.
Go ahead, Ross. Be quiet, please. Go ahead, Andrew.
Are we ready? Okay, Coach, it's only ACC play the rest of the way. You've had a chance to step away for Christmas, spend some time with your family. I don't know how much reevaluating you did, but where do you think your team is right now going into just ACC play until the NCAAs?
Well, I was really encouraged the way that we played the last 4 games, and I feel like that we've gotten better in areas that we need to get better at. I feel like from an offensive standpoint, we're really pushing the ball in transition, and I think that we're doing a much better job of sharing the basketball in terms of our team assists, and so I was really happy with that. Defensively, I was happy, but I'm very far from satisfied. We got to get better defensively. We just do. I think we've done a better job of in spurts and getting stops when we need to the last 4 games. But in terms of just overall defense, we just got to do a better job of protecting the paint. We've got to do a better job of, last year, one of the things that was really good for us is our percentage defensive rebounding we were number 1 in the country. And right now we're 100. And so like for some people it'd be like, oh, well, you're in the top 100, but like, I want to be better at that. And so, just our rebounding and defense has improved. Our protecting the paint has improved, but it's nowhere near where I want it to go. And so, it was nice to have a Christmas break and I enjoyed time with my family and it was awesome, but I also did think about our team a lot. And, that's an area that just has to improve, our overall defense and our rebounding.
Steve, I can ask a quick follow-up. Going back to the first thing you were talking about sharing the ball. You've talked a lot about, and the guys have talked a lot about good to great. I've heard it from them a lot more here in the last couple of weeks when we're talking to them after games. Is that something that you're seeing them really take to heart?
I do. I really do. They're having fun doing it too. I remember Caleb hitting that 3 where he got fouled against Michigan and everybody ran over to him to pick him up. And, the pass to Pete in the second half, the pass to Armando around the basket, like what I'm seeing is celebrations for the pass more so, or at worst equal to the celebration of the shot. And it's growing, it's getting better, and it's fun to watch, and I love it. I really do.
Brendan, then CL.
Hey, Hubert. Merry belated Christmas.
Christmas.
Just wanted to check in about DeMarco, see sort of where his status is, and also a complimentary question with that. How pleased have you been with your bench production over the last 4 games? And how does that sort of lend itself leading forward, regardless of DeMarco's status?
No, DeMarco's doing really well. He's practiced the last couple of days, but not full practice. Every day he's gotten more reps out there on the floor. And so there's a chance he could play on Friday. And so we'll practice again tomorrow before we fly to Pittsburgh, but I'm very pleased at where he's at. It's not just, making sure that his hand is okay. It's also conditioning, and in the time that he was away, we made tweaks and pivots and alters and changes. So getting him caught up to what we were doing. And so, but DeMarco's doing really well. And I'm very pleased where he's at right now. In terms of the bench, I'm really happy with, I feel like every guy that has come off the bench has had a moment out there on the floor that has put us in a position to be successful out there on the floor. And, from Seth to obviously DeMarco, Dontrez and Tyler Nickel and Puff, it's really nice to have guys that are coming off the bench that, and sometimes it's different every night depending on matchups, to be able to come up there and just play extremely well on both ends of the floor.
CL, then JB Ricks.
Hi, Hubert. I wanted to ask you about your philosophy behind making adjustments on the fly. Like I've known coaches who essentially kind of just stick to whatever their initial game plan was and their vision was for their team and trying to work through problems that way. But I feel like last year and so far this year with your team, you seem to be adept at just kind of tweaking things as you go along that needs your attention. And I was wanting to get to the heart of that, like where you kind of how you developed that philosophy.
Well, one of the things that I do is CL is I just as a player, I always try to look at different ways to be successful out there on the floor. And so depending on how they were guarding me, who was guarding me, when they were guarding me, and then on the defensive end, just who I was guarding, what are their tendencies, what are the things that they like to do, have they been hot the last couple of games? Those are things that as a coach that I do the same thing as a coach. And so like I just before going into any game, I've just got a different looks on both ends of the floor on things that we can possibly do. I just like being prepared. And, if we feel like that we need to make a tweak or a pivot or a change, I like to feel prepared that we can make it during the game. And so, and CL, sometimes, you just try stuff and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. When we started pressing against Virginia Tech, we had never practiced that before. And so it just ended up really working out for us. And it's something that has helped us throughout the remainder of this season. And so sometimes those are things that we have practiced. Sometimes there are things that have been prepared for. Some of those things that I've already thought about, and some of those things are just on the fly. And sometimes they work, and sometimes they don't work.
How do you have that kind of fearlessness to do that though? Like I think that takes a little bit of I think I might have anxiety over doing something like that. And I think some coaches might, if they didn't already know exactly this would be the result of using this press against Virginia Tech, that kind of thing.
Well, I think the fearful thing is not to try. I'm just always I think success lies in your ability to try. I just have always felt that way. At the end of the day, I want to make sure that I've checked the box in terms of my preparation, check the box in terms of how hard I work or how hard I play, and then just try. I don't see any fear in trying something. I don't. I think the fear thing is not to try something. And I think it's important to tweak, to pivot, to alter, to change some things, to try to be the best that you can be. And I don't think it's scary to try. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least I can check the box and said I tried.
JB Ricks, then Michael Coe.
Hey, Coach, appreciate you taking out the time.
Yeah.
My question is kind of similar to CL's, but just more along the lines as far as like this portion of the season with, you got a year under your belt as the head coach, and you had the run that you had last year, but based off of that experience and the experience that you guys have had during the non-conference schedule, like, is there anything that you want to change about your approach, anything about the strategy, the level of intensity, once you get to this portion of the schedule that you may not have made the same decision in the past that you would make now?
No, I'm pretty fired up now, and was just as fired up in the summer before the season even started. And you can ask the guys, like I'm ready to go, and I've always been ready to go. I just have always grown up and been taught when you cross the line, it's time to go. And there's a level of competitive fight that you have to have, and it's something that I communicate with the guys every day. And I know we're heading into conference season now, but we've already played 2 conference games. I don't, what I focus on is really what's in front of us. And that's all I do throughout the entire year. I don't look at it like, okay, here's the conference season. This is where I want this team to be. I just focus on, look, can we get a little bit better today? Can we get closer to reaching our full potential today, just a little bit? And then let's prepare and try to play our best game of the season against a really good Pittsburgh team. And then that's just the way that I focus and look at things, and the way that I communicate to the team as well to move throughout the conference season.
Thank you, Coach.
Michael?
Hubert, Coach Capel at Pitt has had some success against y'all since he took over that program a few years ago. What is there a certain thing that his teams do and are successful at that gives you guys problems that you can think of?
Well, since I've been head coach, we've only played Pittsburgh once, and we played them last year here at home, and they just kicked our tail. I mean, they were more physical than us. They beat us to every loose ball. They beat us to every spot. They were more physical with us defensively. They got every rebound. They just beat us in every area last year here. And it was from start to finish. And so obviously Pittsburgh is an extremely well-coached team. They always bring a sense of confidence and physicality out there on the floor, and to have a chance against them, you're going to have to bring that yourself. And but we're excited about the challenge of going to Pittsburgh and playing against a really good team that's playing probably their best basketball of the season thus far.
Thanks.
Brendan?
Hey, Hubert, I just wanted to follow up on something you were saying earlier about the defensive rebounding last year, you guys being first, now being about 99th. What are some of the ways that you can remedy that? And is there any correlation at all between some of the improvements you guys have seen in transition with Armando getting out maybe a little bit more? Is that any sort of correlation on the defensive glass?
Well, Armando is getting out offensively. He's running, and he is opening things up for himself and for the rest of his teammates in transition. So I really believe it has started with Armando in the way that he has been sprinting the offense. In terms of rebounding, you're asking, how can we change that? How can we get that better? Well, I think there's 2 ways. Number one, you can address it. And number 2, you can hold them accountable. I have addressed it, and I am holding them accountable in terms of extra running in practice. And I am prepared to hold them even more accountable in terms of sitting next to me on the bench.
Sorry, if I could clarify, I think more along the lines of what I meant was, does Armando getting out in transition as much, maybe not having him go back to the defensive, is there any correlation between him not going back to the defensive glass as much while he's trying to get out in the break and transition?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think, one of the things that I always talk to the team about is that it's not an Armando Bacot rebounding game. It's a UNC rebounding game, and everybody has to get involved. RJ I think twice this year, has had double-figure rebounds. Okay, so as great as RJ is, he's had twice double-figure rebounds. Everybody can rebound. Everybody needs to rebound. Armando needs help. And everybody has to get involved. Everybody has to box out. Everybody has to get those long rebounds. And that's just something, I think we're +5 in the rebound margin. And our goal was to be +15. And, we just got to get better at that.
Thank you.
Time for one last question. Ross?
Hey, Coach, you and Pitt have a common opponent in Michigan. They played Michigan in November and lost pretty handily. Do you look back at games like that when you're reviewing tape and game planning, or how do you go about, I know in football lately, they look at common opponents to see which offenses work, which defenses work. How do you go about film review for a team like that? You look at the last couple of games, or would you go back to a game against Michigan?
I watch pretty much all the games, so, obviously I watch some of, the Michigan game and also watch obviously their most recent games.
Mhm.
But I don't draw upon it and say, okay, we both played Michigan and we beat Michigan and they struggled against Michigan. What does that say about us? I don't draw any conclusion to that. For whatever reason, Michigan played really well that game, and for whatever reason, Pitt didn't play their best. I know Michigan's a really good basketball team, and I know Pitt's a really good basketball team, and I know it's going to be a really good game on Friday afternoon.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your Zoom gymnastics earlier. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it,
You didn't
Steve.
have to do that.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks,
Everybody,
Hubert.
hope you have a happy New